Cafe, where the estate shape thoughts finds us and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's expert on ESG and corporate sustainability, as well as an author and the author of the book How to Build Sustainability into Your Business Strategy, none other than Mr. Lee Stewart. Welcome, Mr. Lee, on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Lee Stewart. I am a sustainability expert with over 2 decades experience in working in corporates, non-for-profits and private sector and small businesses, and recently authored the book, How to Build Sustainability into Business Strategy.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Lee. Thank you. So today, let's talk about the writing process of your book. Your book title emphasizes practical nonsense approach. What is the most common piece of a nonsense or counterproductive advice you see in a sustainable or sustainability space that you aim to correct?
Yeah, I think I want to correct the fact that people think it's way too hard. It's something way out there. It's say I want a net zero strategy or solve world hunger. It's too hard. What's my business got to do with it? And leave it up to someone else. So I wrote the book as a practical, no nonsense guide that you can read it in a weekend, start asking questions on your business Monday, Tuesday, and maybe even by Friday, you've made some small change in the positive direction, and you build upon those changes. And then you integrate it into your business strategy, and it becomes part of what you do as a business. You naturally just do good by still staying profitable, but helping the wider society environment at the same time.
Interesting, Mr. Lee. For the CEO who views sustainability as a cost center or a compliance issue, what is your opening pitch to reframe it as a strategic driver for profitability
Yeah.
and resilience?
Yeah, really great question. A lot of compliance coming at the CEOs right now, and you can't escape it. It's happening anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
the people that benefit the most are those that embrace the change. There's two buckets I look at. There's the reluctant complier and those that get on with it and see it as an opportunity. Those that see compliance as an opportunity, especially around ESG and sustainability, do better. They spend less, they argue less, they get better outcomes from external people like myself coming to help them. They generally uncover opportunities to save money, create new products, engage with more customers, retain more talent. There's so many other benefits you get from doing it properly. So don't be the reluctant complier. It's happening anyway. You may as well get the advantage out of this. And the business advantage of doing sustainability right can be quite significant.
Significance indeed. And the word build implies integration, Mr. Lee, not just an add on. What is the critical first step to embedding sustainability into your DNA of a company's strategy rather than having a seat in a silo?
Yeah, really good. Sitting in a silo just doesn't work. It will last for a short time and then it'll just disappear. People move on or they lose interest or you run out of money or fund for that. When you build it into your business strategy, it becomes part of who you are. And the key to that is really understanding where your customers are, where the money comes into the business. What do they care about in terms of sustainability? And is there an opportunity to collaborate and work together on that? That's where you get the true benefits and outcomes of building sustainability into your business strategy. Becomes part of who you are, becomes part of what you do, and you reap more benefits that way. So my key advice is to have a look at what your business does understand your impacts, but understand what your customers are wanting as well. And is there an opportunity there with sustainability?
Indeed. How do you define a practical sustainability goal versus an idealistic but achievable one? Can you give us an example, Mr. Lee?
Yeah, hundreds of examples. Where you see a lot of companies come out with what I call pledge fest. They come out and say, we're going to do net zero, we're going to save the world, we're going to reduce waste, we're going to do all this stuff, write a fancy report, set some targets, and then just you don't hear anything from them. And what happens is it's left to someone like me when I was in those organizations of one or two people to try and drive. It's not embedded across the business. The executives aren't across it, aren't responsible, zero accountability other than one or two people, and it just falls over because people either burn out, two or three people trying to do it, or they move on. They're generally pretty good people. They probably get promoted into other areas, and it just falls over. It lacks the consistency. So you've got to have accountability and consistency to do that. Otherwise, you're guilty of just greenwashing and trying to just get the good news sound bites without doing the hard work.
On strategy and integration, Mr. Lee, where is the most effective place for a company to start its sustainability journey? Is it supply chains, its operations, or its product design, or its culture?
Yeah, that's all probably all the above. But what you do a process of elimination of understanding where your biggest impacts are. So what you would do is what's known as a materiality assessment, where you go and interview stakeholders. You probably get your staff to what is a priority. You might interview some of your customers, your suppliers. If you're a very large company, you might look at government, um, talking to government, bringing all those views into a concise format and then prioritizing them to your top 3 to 4 things that you wanna go after, and then working diligently on those, setting targets and programs around those top 3 or 4. Don't do a dozen, there's far too many. Really hone down on what matters most to your business through that materiality assessment.
Interesting, Mr. Lee. How does a leader conduct meaningful materiality assessment to identify which sustainability issues are truly critical to their specific business and stakeholders? It's
Yeah,
not just the
yeah.
trending topics.
Yeah, you gotta keep a view on what's happening in the lens of the future, and future upcoming legislation gives you some hints, and you look at others overseas, in Europe and parts of America, California, and so forth have different legislations coming through, which give you an idea of at the moment, modern slavery is mandatory here in Australia. You have to report on that in the coming years. Next year, scope 1 and 2 emissions, and then years 2 and 3 is emissions across your supply chain. There's a lot of this work having to go on. A lot of companies need to understand what their biggest impacts are today, but also start thinking about what information they need to actually report on the future requirements, but also what are they going to do to like reduce those impacts over time as well. And that's where you need a sustainability strategy that's embedded into your business.
Yes, definitely. And can you walk us through how to weave sustainability into existing business process like annual budgeting, product development, and executive compensation?
Yeah, yeah, these are all key areas, and what is really interesting, and I emphasize this in my book: don't reinvent the wheel. You will probably already have a health and safety committee. You probably already have the budgeting and compliance areas. Instead of rewriting a whole new policy and procedures, look to embed that in there with maybe like a budgeting policy would be if we purchase anything over $1 million, could you consider sustainability? If something uses more than X amount of energy, could you look at energy efficiency? If something produces so much of waste, can we ask suppliers about end of life? We don't write a whole new policy in most cases. We look to embed lines in existing policies, such as supplier code of conduct or even executive remuneration. The biggest change I've seen that makes a difference is putting sustainability targets as KPIs, key performance indicators tied to bonuses for execs. that was the only time I was very popular in large organizations around bonus time saying, Lee, how are you going to hit the emission targets? And I could go back to them and say, well, no, because you haven't invested in this program, which you said you would, and so forth. So it's very simplistic in a capitalist state where executives
Mhm.
care about their bonuses. That drives action, and it's no surprise that even in some legislation they're asking that direct question: are executives remunerated by hitting ESG or sustainability targets? That question's been asked in legislation here in Australia and New Zealand.
How do you balance the need for ambitious long term sustainability targets with the relentless short term pressure for quarterly financial results?
Yeah, really hard one. But what we need to do is take a long term view, and this is where sustainability is actually really key. We're asking companies sometimes to set targets at 2035, 2040, 2050. And even some companies I've worked with have a target 100 years out. When I was working for Fujitsu, a very Japanese long-term view approach. How we make sure that we stay consistent with that is that, yes, we report on them quarterly and annually, but the executives, once again, are responsible for that. So they might report to the board about their emission targets or carbon reduction strategies and so forth. You review that probably every year, but you make sure that they're accountable and there's incremental improvements going on, that just if a budget cut happens, it doesn't just disappear. There's a conversation and there's repercussions for that in the terms of the reporting and governance around it.
Interesting answer, Mr. Lee. And on practical implementation and measurement, what does a minimum viable sustainability plan look like for a small or medium sized business with a lean
Sorry,
team and
Daniel, I might
light
have lost
budget?
your audio.
So, hello, that's Mike. Okay, so can you hear me, mister? Hello, that's Mike. Hello, that's Mike. Hello, that's Mike. Can you hear me, mister? Lee,
Totally sorry. I
can
seem
you
to have
hear me?
lost audio. Right?
Okay, so while we are doing our glitches, just give us a minute, people, while we're doing this. I hope you will script. Okay. Hello, that's Mike. Hello, that's Mike. And here we go. How about now? Mr. Lee, can you hear me? Hello, that's Mike. Hello, that's Mike. Hello, that's Mike. Hello.
Apologies. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Mr. Lee. Uh-huh. I think you cannot hear me, so just give me a minute. We'll just give me a minute. I'll be
Can you hear
back.
me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Mr.
Just
Lee.
died.
Hello, that's Mike. Hello. Hello, that's Mike. Give me a minute. Okay. Hello, that's Mike. Can you hear me, Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I can. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No worries at all. No worries. So I think there's something wrong with our connection or whatever. And I have an echo too. So all of it's happening. But anyway, let's continue. This
It
interview, I will
says
just cut it down for our
it says a recording.
podcast publishing.
On my
But for
side, it says a recording. That's all.
uh-huh. Yes, the recording is still on, so let's continue. So the question is, Mr. Lee, how should company communicate the progress authentically to avoid accusation of greenwashing while still getting a credit for genuine work it's doing?
Yeah, I think the key thing that I look for here is open honesty, right, and transparency. No company can solve
all these global issues. All right. So be honest about the challenges you face, but also demonstrate what you're doing. Talk about it. So if you're reducing waste, measure those numbers. If you set a mission target, measure those targets and numbers and report on them. And if it's something really big and meaningful, get external validation for it. Don't just say we're doing this and we've reduced by X. Sometimes you might need some external validation or some certifications to say, hey, we've got a green star, or we're looking at energy efficiency ratings and so forth around that. So look to be honest and transparent and open about the challenges, and where possible, third-party validation is key.
Interesting indeed, Mister. And Mr. Lee, what are your short-term and long-term goals
Yeah, my
as an
short-term
author?
goal is to, as an author, definitely is to. I'm developing the book into a courses and mentoring program. I am being asked quite a lot to help not just CEOs and boards, but even younger students. So um, this time next year, I'm looking to take a group of young students to Antarctica for a immersive sustainability tour and training session with scientists, so I can help build the next generation of leaders and arm them with the business strategies to help out. So it's sort of the longer term goal for this book is to actually make sustainability more accessible to everyone, the expertise, and to guide people and give them the confidence to go out there and make a difference. And you don't need to hire a consultant. You don't need to do a degree. Follow some of the guides in that book. You can make incremental change and even big changes by following the practices I've put in
Well, good luck to your goals, Mr. Lee, and looking forward for more success. And what will be a piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author like you?
there. Yeah, consistency is the key. I think I made many mistakes about quickly trying to do it all in a month. I think just try and do something every 1 or 2 days. Get your thoughts down. Um, yeah, and get a really good editor as well. They're worth their weight in gold. It's worth paying more for a good editor because um, what my editor did was really say what I really want to say in the least words possible, and you value the reader's time that way by having a good editor.
Mhm. And thank you for the advice, Mr. Lee. Yes, on ROI and overcoming challenges, what is the most powerful financial or operational ROI story you have seen from a company that truly integrate your no nonsense approach to sustainability?
There's numerous ideas. The easiest one is around energy efficiency. You suddenly look at waste differently around energy. So a data center that I was working with not only upgraded the lights in the hall, but because the lights were upgraded, there was less heat. And you imagine all the cooling that's needed in the data center. So the payback was actually, I think it was measured in just under a week for doing that, and the actual reduction of heat in that data center. So that was amazing, quick turnaround. The other ones I've helped work with is linking the sustainability strategy of global business I was working for at the time and a massive global company, and bringing us closer together by working together on decarbonisation projects or research and innovation and so forth. And these were to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars of value can be created from all these new projects coming out. So sustainably brought that different angle to that conversation. So there are some really, really good examples out there that I implore your listeners to have a look at.
What is the single biggest internal barrier, whether it's culture, capital, or capability, that derails these efforts? That was your strategy for breaking it down.
Yeah, look, probably the biggest one I think is the cultural one you touched on there, and for me, it's the confidence of business leaders today. There's a lot of news, there's a lot of politics around sustainability, the word climate change and so forth. I think we need our leaders just to understand and be confident about what do global macro issues such as climate change, modern slavery, plastic waste, diversity inclusion, what do they actually mean, but how can they translate it in the context of their business, their customers, and the whole sort of ecosystem of their business and how they operate. If people have more confidence about that, then I think the rest will come. They'll go, yes, we do need to do something, or we need to do it this way, and so forth, and be more strategic and open to ideas and innovation. So culture for me is the biggest hurdle. I think there's technology and capital available to solve some of these problems. I think just people get annoyed a lot.
For business on the right budget, what is the low hanging fruit that there are where a small smart investment in sustainability can yield the fastest and most significant return, Mr. Lee?
Yeah, it's understanding your energy. Energy costs of Australia, New Zealand, all around the world are going up. There's gas, petrol, electricity. Understanding where energy is consumed in your business and take a energy efficiency first fuel approach to that before you want to upgrade equipment or change things out. Are you running everything more efficient? And that's where you might need to get some expertise in. But especially if you're a large user, I would challenge most companies. I don't think are exploiting energy efficiency as much as they should, and it pays for itself, like I mentioned before, sometimes in days. So that's the easiest low hanging fruit. The next thing I would recommend is understanding what your customers care about, and if there's a sustainability conversation that could be had there.
How does you handle the inevitable trade-off, like when a more sustainable material or process comes with a higher short-term goals?
Yeah, this is where having a sustainability strategy or a net zero strategy actually helps. If there's a more efficient reducing of emissions of a product, and are you factoring in that cost of carbon involved in that, that can sometimes make that business case stack up more and make that innovation seem more palatable. So what you need to do is factor in long term, especially in the built environment or infrastructure. Some of these decisions are lasting decades, if not half a century. Building right first time with what you have, taking a long term view, total cost of ownership, or and so forth around that, will reap rewards and returns for you. So I would implore. I know companies are constrained by capex expenditure and maybe weekly and monthly budgets, but have a look at the total cost of ownership of that, whatever you're building, and if the energy efficiency or lower cost of carbon factored in, it probably will stack up more better.
Looking ahead, Mr. Lee, 3 to 5 years, what sustainability related regulation, consumer shift, or market force do you believe will catch the most unprepped businesses by surprise?
Yeah, I think that you're on notice now. Even if you're not a large company, I'm working with these large companies asking surveys of all their suppliers. And this could be just as simple as, do you know the carbon emissions of the product or service you supply us? That question itself is helping inform this large company who their preferred future suppliers of choice will be, because they've had to set a climate target across their supply chain. They are now looking for suppliers that can provide low carbon innovation products and services to them so they can hit their targets. They are mandated to do this, and this is how this flows on down through the supply chain. So those that don't have the information or aren't prepared to learn about their carbon emissions or set a net zero target will ultimately miss out over time on larger contracts and so forth around that. You probably will still be able to sell your services, but you might not be able to sell it for a premium price and so forth. Over time, you might be edged out of the marketplace altogether. So these things are happening now in 3 to 5 years in Australia. Just to give you an example, around 500 companies are doing mandatory climate reporting next year. Within 4 years, it will be up to 6,000 companies doing that as the regime of reporting comes down to lower levels of companies. That is happening in Europe, UK, California, and other parts of Asia are now considering adopting that as well.
How is the war for talent influencing this conversation, Mr. Lee? Are you seeing a direct link between a robust sustainability strategy and the ability to attract then and retain top tier employees?
Yeah, look, it's a key factor, especially for the younger generation coming through. I have been involved in graduate recruitment programs for companies as well, and it's probably one of the or top three questions they ask: what are you doing around sustainability? So attracting talent is key to that. Younger people generally don't want to work for a company that's just focused on profit. Okay, and there was a Deloitte study just done a few years ago where about 83% of everyone under 25 were looking for companies that had purpose beyond profit. So if you wanted to attract younger talent, definitely it's key. Also, for anyone who's in a senior role and you're looking to enhance your career, a fundamental understanding of sustainability will be key. If you wanted to move into a leadership executive role, I think understanding that will put you in good stead for your next step up. Okay, so it's something you should consider upskilling.
Yes, and before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Lee, I'm inviting you to please listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, as well as my love letters, music 101, and movie 101 and my Science 101, Sex 101 second season, and my baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Lee, if you could leave every business leader with one single actionable piece of advice from your book to start implementing tomorrow, what would it be?
Yeah, be ask yourself this fundamental question: if your business did not exist, if suddenly it disappeared, would the environment or society be better or worse off? And and take some time to think about that question. And I asked that in my book. I asked it in the boards. The answer to that question is probably your opportunity, strength, or weakness, and it's worth exploring more. So have a think about it. If your business organization did not exist, would society, environment be better or worse off? The answer will be quite revealing.
Mr. Leah, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or anything you want to promote on Abstract Essay?
Yeah, look, the book is on Amazon. You can have a look at it now. It's How to Build Sustainability Business Strategy. Really expecting the reviews are fantastically appreciated, and all the best with your sustainability efforts.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Lee Stewart because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering businesses strategy will rise. So, Mr. Lee, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Monica people, see you soon.